No.
Hey everybody, welcome to TTKU. This is an exciting week. Our guest is not here yet, but just to give you a little taster of what we're going to be talking about today, there's been a lot of cool stuff that's happened in the last week, and we're going to be talking about the new de novo, the new PMA, there's new emergency use authorization. I'm going to rant for a little bit about eStar, so get excited. And then
Ooh.
we're also, yeah, and then we're going to talk a little bit about over the counter devices as well as the CDRH patient and caregiver connection. And without further ado, I think our Daisy, can you hear us? Are you here?
Hello.
Yay, there she
Hi.
Hey.
is.
How are you doing?
Good. It looks like you're
Have
in
too much
witness
light on the
protection.
background. Let me close a little bit the blinds. Give
Okay,
me a
yeah.
minute.
Yeah. Came in with a halo.
I
Like
know.
yeah.
I don't need it. I think it's,
Yeah.
we're all just trying to figure out how to use these new technologies with our
Think
cameras.
probably it's
And
better
I'll
now. I'm not 100% sure though.
Give it
Let's
a
see.
second. Sometimes it'll,
yeah, the cameras usually adjust once they figure out.
Yeah.
yeah,
I think I'm gonna go to the other side
or
better.
not.
Let me just turn things around here.
Okay.
While she's turning it around, Allison, I will say I appreciated the fact that you were like on top of the game this week. I went in to like add things to the sheet, the agenda, and everything I had to add, and instead of typing over what you'd already typed like usual, I noticed everything was there, and I was like, cool, we're we have an agenda today.
I think that's why there's so many good reasons why two people, hosting this podcast, non-podcast is a good idea. But one is like some weeks I just cannot, and then you step in, and then other weeks you do. So,
Yeah, it's perfect. Worked out great because this was a week I did not have as much time. So
well, Daisy, my friend, welcome to TTKU. Would you do a quick intro and also like what you did at FDA and then what you're doing now?
For sure. Yes. Thank you for having me here. Um, so I am a consultant currently. I mostly work on the biocom side, helping companies evaluate the safety of their medical devices. I am a certified toxicologist, but I'm a chemistry by training. I have a PhD in chemistry. And after graduation, well, before graduation, I went to work and did part of my doctoral research at the FDA in the Center for Devices and Radiological Health. And that's how I came to work with medical devices. I was working with nano technology. I was looking at the toxicity of different nanoparticles back then. And there had been, many medical products that have incorporated nanoparticles. At that time, when I joined the FDA, I joined the OSO. I was working at DVCMS specifically, and I was doing research and looking into how to evaluate these particles because there are not many guidances or standards out there how you can evaluate medical devices that incorporate nanoparticles. But also because of my experience, I started working with other devices that incorporated absorbables, such as wound dressings, that use a variety of biomaterials, right, that resorb over time. And typically, evaluating them can be a little challenging, and you need to kind of customize your testing plan to avoid some artifacts that you can find on the testing. So I was working on OSEL, then I went to industry, I moved to NASA first, and I started working in consulting and supporting clients with the safety evaluation of their medical devices. Now I am at Gradient, working on a similar role. And besides my work, I like to get involved in committees that are trying to move forward standards that can help us, better evaluate the safety of medical devices overall. Right now, the ISO convener for one of the working groups, specifically working group 17, that oversees the ISO 10993 part 22. That would be the typical standard that you would use to evaluate medical devices that have nano technologies incorporated. But I also am able to, contribute to other working groups, such as Working Group 1, that is in charge of the 1093 Part 1, yeah, that we usually call it the mom of all these standards, because it's the standards that you could use try to define kind of what could be the testing plan, right? Or what is the categorization of your device, and then how can you assess it and confirm that it's going to be safe for its intended use. So that's kind of a little bit of my background.
I love it. I love that you also called it the mom of the standard. I feel like that's more like everyone says grandfathered and everything. I was like, no, it's matriarchal, these documents and these standards. So thank you for
Yes.
sharing
Yeah.
that. So we do something every week where we tell a joke, and I would love for you to tell your joke.
Yes, so I had to run my son for practice. And I was telling him about the joke, and I was telling him about my joke. He said, I have to have a joke about an animal. So he told me one, actually changed it. And he says, how do you call a cow without legs? Do you know how you call it?
Ground beef.
Oh my gosh, you got it.
I got that.
You knew that one.
No, you got it.
You got it. Okay.
Boo.
Well, I thought that, I don't know, but there is another one that is from Peru, and there is one that is like Pepito. The teacher is asking them, they're talking about audition, and he says, the teacher says, what happens if I have, five? How much it is if I have five guinea pigs in one hand and then four in the other hand? And the student replies back and says, well, it means that your hands are big. Because
You got big hands.
it will be five guinea pigs. Sorry, I forgot to say that. What animal he had, like five guinea pigs, and they're big, and in Peru you eat guinea pigs too. I don't know if you have tasted before, but
I have
in
eaten
Peru
guinea
we
pig in Peru.
Me
you have
too.
eaten it.
I did.
It,
It's called cuy, right?
Oh yes, yes, it's called cuy.
And it was delicious.
Nice.
So, yeah, I was the guinea pig of the family because I was like, I want to eat it. And we went to this really nice restaurant that had cuy on the menu, and I was like, I'm doing it. I will say, like the cuy, it was delicious the way they cooked it. But my favorite thing in Peru is the corn and the potatoes. Like you guys
Oh yes,
do that so well. It's so like the
yes.
corn was like huge
Huge,
too. Like
exactly. That, and it's not sweet. It is all kind of salty, and it's
yes,
wild corn. We also have like a purple corn. I don't know if you drink something called chicha morada. It's like a purple drink, and it's made out of that purple corn, and it's mixed with pineapple and apples and some cinnamon, and you boil it. And then you add lemon and sugar, and it's delicious,
is
super
that
good.
an FDA approved color additive though? The
Oh,
I
well,
think
it's
purple
so.
natural,
corn?
so maybe I believe
Sorry, we try not to get
Uh,
political here, but ooh,
yeah.
I'm close.
If it's
Um,
natural, it's
if
definitely
it's
it's
allowed.
natural,
natural. No, it's natural.
true,
It's
Yeah.
really good, really tasty.
totally natural.
Yeah,
Okay, next time we
yeah.
go to Peru.
Um,
Nilo,
Peru, real quick. I went
yeah,
to Peru on my honeymoon. It's the only time I've been, and Lima is, I think, the most underrated food city I've ever been to.
ever.
Every single
Nice.
meal I went to was phenomenal. It was cool, like seafood, Asian, South American, native, like fusion. It was so good. It was like, and it's
Yes.
so pretty. The colors are
Mhm.
awesome. Every plate was like beautiful. Yeah. Anyway,
Yeah. No,
to
no,
to
no.
the people, to
Peru's
our
food is
listeners,
delicious.
go to Peru for food.
Go to Peru for a
You
free weekend.
won't regret it, believe me. And you haven't tasted ceviche yet, please go and have some
Yeah.
ceviche. It's good.
Yeah. Amazing. Um, I did see the little Pepito joke in the rundown, so I grabbed a little Johnny joke because in the US, instead of Pepito, we have little Johnny jokes, and most of them are extremely vulgar, so I picked a safe one. Uh, and little Johnny goes up to his teacher and goes, "Teacher, teacher, can you get in trouble for something you didn't do?" And the teacher's like, I don't I don't think so. No, of course not, little Johnny. He goes, whew, okay, good, because I did not do my homework today. And that was the
I like
yeah.
that. I
So
like that.
that was my
Yeah.
joke for today.
I am not on brand today, guys. I have one that, well, you've all heard of Murphy's Law, right?
Hmm.
Which is if something can go wrong, it will, which feels very like
all
what
the
I
time.
live all the time with my FDA submission. But have you guys heard of coleslaw?
No.
It's
No.
thinly sliced cabbage.
I knew it was coming.
Okay, let's dive in. We're already 11 minutes in deep, and we should probably talk about what happened at FDA.
Yeah.
I did the deep dive on what devices came out this week, and there's like one of each. So there was a new de novo called CaRi-Heart or CaRi-Heart, CaRi-Heart, CaRi-Heart from Caristo Diagnostics. It is a predictive indicator for long-term cardiovascular outcomes. And I was like, isn't this kind of like, haven't we seen stuff like this before? But no, because it's a predictive indicator, the regulation, and I like this, it just came out and the letter was already up, which is great. So it is uses algorithms to analyze inputs such as medical imaging data, cardiovascular risk factors. It takes all this information and it gives you a risk score category or probability that predicts the long-term cardiovascular outcomes. And so there's some other predictive devices that have made it through FDA, like the prognosis or pronosis one comes to mind for sepsis. I think there's ones for other for Alzheimer's, right? Like the Darmian one was like predictive or prognosticator um, for Alzheimer's and like mild cognitive decline. But their indications for use specifically states that it's for healthcare professionals to assess vascular inflammation from coronary computed tomography angiography, so CCTA, images, and measures risk of cardiovascular mortality due to coronary inflammation and other clinical risk factors. So if your heart's inflamed, it'll tell you, yeah, like the likelihood that your heart is gonna die. And it was for adults from 30 to 80 years old, which I love that broad range. And it's to be used by trained professionals, and it can include images, CT images, clinical history, symptoms, clinical risk factors, other diagnostic tests, and puts them all together and gives you like a risk score. So I was like, that's so cool. I feel like, excuse me, diagnostics like in IVD, like I'm gonna mute myself and cough for a second.
Yeah, go for it. Yeah, Allison's got the
Sorry.
black lung.
I honestly have chronic cough from like COVID many years ago. That's my conspiracy theory. I think like so IVDs. I found this super fascinating. Like years ago, I was looking up 510Ks because that's what I do. I'm a nerd, and I found that there were like some that would take different blood tests, and they would take like 5 different blood tests, and then there would be a 510K that said now these 5 blood tests will give you a heart failure risk score. And so like within the 510K program, so I think IVDs have been like long on this kind of predictive thing using other diagnostic tests, but like bundling them to give some like sort of outcome or score, risk score. But I feel like now, I mean, with the advent of AI and all these algorithms, like other OHTs have been catching up. So, what are your thoughts?
No, I kind of fully agree. I think the this is where our robot, brethrens that are going to take over it probably in a good way. The ability to just take lots of inputs and kind of decide like what you can do with it and a lot of data is going to be awesome for diagnostics across the board. I was surprised that this got a de novo because I was like, wait a second, I thought there was because there's a Pittsburgh company that um, it's kind of was student founded and then grew out of University of Pittsburgh called Heart.io but that's more ECG signaling, and I think I remember they'd gotten breakthrough, but I'm not sure if they actually have clearance, but they're using different types of signals to kind of have similar indications. And it's also always interesting how with AI and also just better computing power and things like that, how the FDA will treat things that use different inputs for the same outputs, and if that's going to go same classification, is it going to be able to use 510Ks, or are you going to have to use de novos? Yeah, so I think it's cool. These are great things, and I think heart disease is still, number one.
Top killer. Yeah.
Yeah, every time. If it's not one, it's two, or three for young kids, I guess. But
Yeah.
always
And it's
good.
interesting how everything has been developed throughout the years, right? Because I recall there was a company some years ago that was trying to kind of develop something similar where you would use blood to kind of diagnose and even predict what diseases could you develop over the years. I think it was a very ambitious project. Um, Now, I guess with all these more focus um, uh, products or like they're focusing on a specific disease or a specific condition, I think the outcome is going to be better, right? But it's interesting how things have been developed because I know that there were some, I think the company even went, out of business and all that. There were a lot of things happening, but it's interesting how the technology has been developing, how AI, right, is actually advancing some of these things that maybe we didn't foresee some
Yeah.
years ago.
Yeah.
I know. I mean, I think of like when I was, I think when you too, Nyla, when we were reviewers, AI was like, what? There's no AI. Like, what was that? That was something in like sci-fi movies, you know?
Yeah,
And I think I was actually talking to somebody at another biocomp lab recently, and they were just like, a lot of the toxicological risk assessment and a lot of that work
hmm,
can be done with the help of like these AI assisted, helping to write reports. And it makes so much sense. Like, those things are hundreds of pages long, and like
yes,
to have, like, I don't know, my go-to for so long has been Bill Woostenberg, right? Like his brain, I'm like, if
yeah,
I could, like, the way he writes things and is able to write those reports is just like a magician. But I'm also like, he's like one dude. We need 5,000 Bill Woostenberg.
yeah,
So hey, if AI can help, write these reports for him and others, like, great.
I
yes,
don't I don't know Bill Woostenberg.
You
That's
don't? Okay.
no.
You gotta
yeah.
have to
I'll
put
have
him in
to
the
He's
name
take
drop.
a
amazing.
He's
yeah.
You
amazing.
work
I
with
know.
him too.
Easy, I know.
Yes, but I think probably in some years we could be using like AI more often, even for toxicological risk assessments. We actually were discussing that, how the use AI could impact our jobs and all that. Because I mean, you're right. Like there could be, and there are some companies already developing like these tools that toxicologists could be using, or even companies in the future to have a toxicological risk assessment. But the standard 1093.1 actually has a clause where it says that you need somebody that has kind of the certifications and the credentials to write your VP and BR. So I guess it's like our job protection.
Exactly.
We were joking
I,
about it, but it's like, but it's true. I mean, AI is there are tools out there that could actually help you significantly, and it has developed through so much that even if you test it, you would be surprised on the testing plans that it puts together. And it's kind of, I wouldn't say reliable, but it's kind of close to what sometimes we would propose to. So for sure, that would be something that we will have to look in the future, and maybe we'll have to incorporate that as a tool. Still, there are concerns, right, about the proprietary information from the companies, right? I mean,
of course.
what
Yeah.
security protections that are there. Also, um, there was an exercise that was done by another toxicologist a year ago, and he kind of ran, and request a prompt and tried to have like a VP through different AI models, and one of them kind of was the closest one to what we would expect, but the other ones were failing. So
Wow.
although there could be like a product or output that could be useful, I don't think there is yet a model out there that could give you like a reliable. And sometimes they might miss, some of the things that you need to consider for your testing plan or your evaluation of your medical device. So for sure, could be
Yeah.
something that in the future we have to keep an eye on
Yeah.
as
Well,
it
and I think
develops.
it's like a supplemental thing. Like
Yes.
yeah, I feel like as long as there's, or even fact checking my own work, if there's things that I miss, like
Mhm.
recently, I don't use AI a lot, to be totally honest with you, but like when I put together lists of guidance documents or things that I
Mhm.
know that a company's going to need to review, I'll I usually can, because we do TTKU, I usually am like, oh, that one's outdated, or there's a new human factors
Mhm.
one, so I know to
Mhm.
put them in. But I'll run it through AI and be like, are these all up to date? And sometimes it'll catch one, or sometimes I'll catch, I'll be like, no, you didn't catch the new human factors one. And it'll be like, oh,
No.
yes, I'm so sorry. Thank you for pointing that out. And so
Is that your
I think
robot voice?
that's my robot voice. That's my
Oh,
robot voice.
okay.
You're feeding the system pretty much.
I am a robot. Let's go on to new PMAs in the interest of
Yeah.
time.
Also
Um,
diagnostic.
yeah. Do you want to talk about this one, Milo, or
No. Yeah.
no?
Jump in.
I'll jump in just because I also love the name. It was the PGDX Elio Tissue Complete CDX, because Elio is like the cutest Pixar movie, isn't it? Pixar, I think. Have you seen it with that little boy that like is Italian? Isn't that Elio?
Luca?
No, that's
Is
Luca. Elio is another one. It's the one with the aliens. I'm sorry. I'm getting my
that
kids'
makes more
movies mixed
sense.
up.
Yeah. I of course have seen the little Italian boy movie. I've not seen the alien one.
Oh, good, good. Okay, I'll also send that to you. The approval order is up. I did find it. I was like, oh, new. Whenever you see a new PMA, I always am like, oh wow, is this like totally new, or is this something that there's already a product code for? And so I did look up product code PQP, and it has 17 devices, original PMAs already approved in the database. But this specifically is a qualitative next-gen sequencing in IVD that uses high-throughput hybridization-based capture technology. All this to say, it is used as a companion diagnostic to identify melanoma patients who may benefit from treatment with the targeted therapies that are
That's
listed. It says in table 1.1, and then they don't give you table 1.1. So I'm assuming there's, yeah, like, how cool, right? Like, if you have
yeah.
melanoma, and it's like, hey, based on your sequence, these are the therapies that are most likely to be effective for you. Yay! Like, that's so great. So big win. Thank you, to Personal Genome Diagnostics. Strong work. Shout out.
Um, that's awesome. Because I did not come out of the IVD space, I always think the IVDs are very cool, and I always even their 510Ks are very like based on actual data rather than like a regulatory argument of this is substantially equivalent. They usually stand on their own anyway. I have no idea where the line is between class 2 and class 3 IVDs. Yeah, it's just like, oh, that was a PMA and that was a de novo. That one's a 510K, and it seems there's
It's
not like a
arbitrary.
clear.
Yeah.
It does not seem clear to me.
No.
There's
I
may- maybe we can get Josh back on with clear audio and ask him.
That's a good idea. I don't know, Daisy, if you thought we had Josh Levin on this, and it was like really hard to hear him. I also think maybe the IVD. Okay, we're just like hypothesizing here. I think OHT7 is more likely to just accept if you want to do a PMA, you do a PMA. Like I think for a
Got
long
it.
time you could do like I think all the other OHTs are like, no, this is not a PMA. This shouldn't be class 3. You should be automatically classified. Where I don't think that's necessarily the case for diagnostics. Also, since this is the 17th one, and it's for melanoma, maybe that's the case for this one, but I think also if there's already a PMA, you can't be substantially equivalent to a PMA. So they would have said like, of course we have to submit a PMA for this one because that's our regulation. So, all right, mental note. We're gonna ask Josh back. There are no new HDEs. What's new? There was a new emergency use authorization, which I was like, oh, this is scary because it is for an in vitro diagnostic allplex HSV monkeypox assay. And I was like,
Mhm.
oh, that means
Oh
that
no.
there's monkeypox around. And so it is for the simultaneous qualitative detection of differentiation of viral nucleic acid from monkeypox virus. And so I was like, that's scary. Um, because that's on our bingo card. I feel like 2026. The other day I was like, oh my gosh, it's August. Like, I'm so glad it's going fast. But then because everyone's like, oh, I'm so excited for this year to be over. And then I'm like, I said that in 2025. And it's like 2026 is, I'm sorry, it's not it's not that much
It's not
Going
further.
by
significant.
fast.
It's going by fast. No, it's not significantly better. I saw there are some good things. I would say, well, and bad things. The bad things on the measles stuff. I saw the American Academy of Pediatrics put out more stuff about please vaccinate your kids. All this stuff, all the hype news is absolute garbage. You need to go get your kids vaccinated. I can't believe that and polio, like we had global eradication and now they're back. We're being stupid. Just so dumb. Like, stop being stupid. Yeah, anyway, that makes me mad. On the good side, though, the kind of good side, the NIH is going to be like just releasing all the funds. Like the dam is broke. They're trying to make sure they spend their budget before the end of the year. So like all these people who've been waiting on NIH funding, there was a recent press release, I think this morning, that they're gonna like, hey, we have this pile of money that we have to spend before October 1st. We're gonna try to spend it, and it's probably gonna be chaotic and not well organized because America 2026. But hopefully the science and the people who need the money are going to get it to like progress public health,
I
which is
hope
cool.
so.
So I'm gonna be rose-colored glasses on that one.
And I'm gonna bring us back down because my husband got like the really really good score on a grant recently that it was like years ago would have been slam dunk, like of course this is getting funded, and then they reached out and said like sorry, this would be funded, but we don't have the people to process the grants, so we're not going to fund this for you. And he's just like, what? It's messed up. That's what he sounds like too. And so they're like, well, the money, which I'm very glad you're right, like they're gonna release a bunch of money, but most of it's gonna just be tacked on to like the current like grants, which yay, that's good for the folks who currently have grants. But it's like, okay, for people who have applied for new grants and stuff, it might
That
not work
sucks.
like that. So yeah, I
Oh,
mean, there's always like, yay, boo, like
but yeah, nothing's clean. Although we have learned from other podcast participants that the squeaky wheel gets the grease. So I think he should just start complaining up the chain, and he might get his money. Honestly, like make a stink about it. I get all my airplane refunds when it's the only reason I still have a Twitter account. If the airline screws me up, I just make a post on Twitter and I get credits and refunds like immediately.
oh
Yeah.
my gosh, I'm gonna
So
follow you on Twitter. I like don't
yeah,
I
I,
don't use
I
Twitter
it's
tweets.
it's only me bitching about airplanes. That's the only reason it exists.
Amazing. Well, I did. Yeah, this is delayed. I love it.
Yeah. Delta, give me my bag back.
Give me my bag. I want a refund.
Sitting on this
Um,
taxi for 2 hours. It's hot. It's Atlanta. What are we doing?
I think you know what? We're gonna end today. Not that we're ending yet because we still have some time. We're all gonna have to say something positive that happened in
I
2026.
tried. You brought me right back
I
down.
brought you right back down, so
Well,
I'm going to force us to like say something happy at the end of this podcast. Okay?
Okay, deal.
Okay. Put that in your brain. All right, new interesting 510K, Deep Health. I just was like Googling the Googles, and then it said they received clearance for an AI tool that reads breast ultrasound images and can generate reports. It can help clinicians localize suspicious soft tissue lesions, characterize details about the lesion, such as its shape, orientation, and the margin, which is crazy. I think it just gives you some information about it. It doesn't say like here's exactly where the margins are. It will generate a report with key findings and impressions, and the radiologists still have control of the final assessment, of course, because the FDA would never say like that's it. The radiologist is out of the loop. The parent company RadNet, which is a cool name, plans to offer the tool across its network of imaging centers by the end of the year. So I couldn't find the 510K number, but I'm assuming it's going to be released. This Deep Health company, they do have like 10 other 510Ks, but it sounds like this is a pretty big advancement for them. So strong work, Deep Health. Keep it up. And then one breakthrough. Did you hear about this one?
No, and I looked
How
it
about
up
that?
and I didn't get it either. So
Yeah. You didn't understand.
no, I didn't have any pop up. This
Oh,
you found this one, yeah.
well, hopefully it's true and it's not just like Grok having me. I don't use Grok, but like I'm sure they're just like, we're gonna get this in their
Yeah, got her.
podcast. Got her. It's the Vesta Bladder Risk Stratified Diagnostic. It's the first AI powered. This is a breakthrough, right, guys? So this is not currently on market yet, but it's an AI powered digital pathology prognostic test in bladder cancer, and it is for computational pathology in bladder cancer patients. Um, yeah. So, yeah, it's not for computational pathology patients. I think that's anyway. Sorry, I read that wrong. But yeah, I feel like we're gonna see more of this prognostication, especially now that there's so much data, right? There is like we are sitting in a world of data with a lot of the stuff that I'm like, oh, this is super exciting. That we can actually now say, okay, if you have these specific risk factors, or this is in your blood, or this is in your genome because you got your NGS or your sequencing done, and this, maybe it doesn't say like you need to now go get chemotherapy or something, right? But it's like you should get checked out more frequently. I would welcome that. Like, I think it's a little scary when you hear, oh, there's a lot of folks that are saying everyone should get a full body MRI, everyone should get like go that's not a screening tool, right? Like x-rays are not necessarily screening tools. So if you can instead like have a better personalized plan for somebody and say, Allison, you have these risk factors, so we're gonna now, instead of 50 for your shingle shot, or instead of your, what were we talking about, Nilo, about getting our colonoscopies? Like there was one about like the earlier screening test.
Well, yeah, it was mammograms and colonoscopies because mammograms aren't covered till women are 40 and colonoscopies aren't covered till men are 50. And your likelihood of getting cancer like really starts when you're 30 and 40. So it's like a decade before the diagnostic tests are covered by CMS, which is just effing stupid. Sorry, it's so dumb. Just cover them, but I guess it's a decade more of people getting screening tests that they don't want to cover. So.
Yeah. Yeah, his health insurance is the bane of this world. I just am like, hey, if it shows you, hey, if I'm at risk and you're not, like maybe
Cool. Yeah.
there's, yeah, like that might actually be beneficial for these health insurance companies that are like, we want to make sure that you're not going to be super expensive down the line. Thanks.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah. But do you
So,
think that health insurance companies are going to be covering these kind of diagnostic or tools? Because generally it's difficult even to when you get like a general checkup, right? Even for
Yeah.
a general checkup, it's difficult to get some lab work approved.
yeah.
Like it depends. So I wonder um, how what is the possibility, right? That you could actually will have access to these new medical device diagnostic tools, which could be
That's true.
helpful. But if they are not like covered by health insurance, then it's, I guess, difficult to tell, right? The impact
Yeah.
later on.
Yeah.
In a cynical way, but also maybe a good way, I think eventually yes, because as health economics will be able to show eventually that these types of tests, if they are leaning toward good false, like low false positive and false negative, that if they're leading to less tests and less hospital stays and like basically less engagement with the hospital system, I think insurances will pay for it more because it's less that they'll have to pay. But it'll be some actuary, running statistics over the course of a decade before they make, oh, look, this is proven and the statistics show that this is going to save us, 17 cents. So we're going to do it. And that's probably that'll drive it before it's good for patients, but something will push it in the right direction, which is good.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I agree. And
it's
maybe
kind of
that's
thinking
another
because
reason the PMAs, right? The PMAs might help with that reimbursement thing. I don't know. Like, yeah. Sorry, Daisy, we were gonna say something.
no, I'm saying that I was just gonna say what Michael mentioned just recently. Who knows, right? Maybe in some years, there is a shift on how what is a public health right policy overall here in the country. But yeah, because depending on the region, right? Like some countries they favor like having like a system where you kind of prevent, like a preventive uh, pause, but there are other places, right, that they kind of wait for the patient to develop the condition or disease and kind of then treat it at that moment. But you could certainly save a lot of costs, right? And if
So
you
true.
prevent some of the things.
And unfortunately, in a capitalist society like ours, you have to make a really good case for the economics around it. And so
Exactly.
I'm like pushing more at companies that I talk to, like go talk to somebody who can talk healthcare economics with you. Like um, Ali, I always screw up his last name, but um, Simeon, I think, and then also my buddy Dr. Adam Brown, who's with ABIG. Like these folks get it, and they also are like, you need to have those conversations. Maybe not like hire them for, a ton of work, but even just getting them involved early to talk about, okay, where are you going to fit? Um, yeah. And of course, Mark Domian, he's my like reimbursement guy. I love him. Mark. Let's go into tempo. There's a new tempo. Second time. So the first one was Dexcom, which we were all like, yeah, Dexcom. I mean, I'm very happy with Dexcom. Don't get
Yeah,
me wrong, but we were all just
they're
like,
good people.
oh, does that mean it's only going to be for like these big companies? But there is one for Cadence Solutions is the company. The device is Hypertension OS, and it's for chronic kidney ECKM, and it's for yeah,
It's for hypertension. It's
hypertension.
yeah, so they're looking at some biomarkers of cardio kidney metabolic function and using it to titrate hypertensive. It's basically your beta blockers or whatever hypertension medication you're taking. I think they're going to use this system to help titrate and dose modify as your symptoms go up or go down. I mean, the idea of being to have it go down, I think, there's pretty good evidence that long-term statins are not great for you. So I think the idea here is like if you can titrate down and get off of statins as your hypertension gets better. I think that's the idea of this is to like, because it's hard to do that with static monitoring with your doctor to like, hey, today, you like blood pressure machines are, it's a trend data, not an instantaneous thing. So to go in for an appointment as evidence to go down is not great. So using, I think that's what's going on here. There's not a ton of data on it. I mean, not a ton of information on the FDA's website, but I think it's for management of hypertensive patients who are on pharmaceuticals and they're using the medical device to kind of titrate it down, which is cool. And that, to what we were just talking about, if you can do that without having to go back into the doctor's office, that's awesome. It saves stress on the healthcare system, but it's also going to be way more accurate because I think both Allison and I have gotten into some of the wearable blood pressure space and like the comparisons to like what you get at a doctor's office versus like an actual intravenous blood pressure test is like the numbers are all, there's no good ground truth here, and it's really about the trending data. And so having it connected to more trending data for clinical decisions is probably great.
Truth. Well, it's exciting to see more of them come out. So I'd love to see some in the neuro space. Plug for,
For one of your
OHG
applicants.
or more than one. Yeah. So let's move on to
Okay.
eStar. Can we? Can we?
Yeah, let's hear your mini rant here because I don't actually know what it's going to be about.
Okay, they've retired 6.2, version 6.2. So up until I think a couple days ago, you could use the old version. But now eStar 7.0 is fully in effect. They have removed 6.2 from the website, and 7.0 has the human factors section. So there's the new guidance out for that, recent, I should say, as of May. And so there's different categories now for human factors. There's like I love a good flow chart. You know me. And so they also have woven the flow chart into the E-Star, which is kind of cool. Like it says like, do you know what category you are? And it's like, no, help me. And then it will help walk you through the flow chart. And then it'll say, you are category 2 or you are category 3. Um, Category 1 is really if you are using is if it's a modification to an existing device, like this is your device and you are changing maybe the user interface, or you're not changing the user interface, there's no change in users, like if it's very similar, then you're category 1. So I think very rarely will you be category 1 because usually there will be some sort of change to the labeling, device users, environment, what have you. If you answer yes, that there is a change to those following, then you should answer if it's a new device and there's are there critical tasks in your URA? So everyone's going to have to be doing their URAs, and if you say no, there's no critical tasks, then you're category 2. Or if it's a modification to your device and it's a new critical task is introduced, then you are going to be going down probably to category 3. So this is like everyone's going to be impacted by this. This is not my rant, however. I think human factors is an excellent thing. I have a list of folks that I'm like, you should reach out to them
Yeah.
because they are the golden children of human factors, and FDA is reviewing this seriously now. Go ahead, Nyla.
Yeah, I was gonna say like, this is probably great for our friends that do this kind of stuff. I mean, we know the folks I saw, and there's been a lot of people doing like upcoming webinars and podcasts. I saw Denise Forkey and folks at Clarimed are doing a big podcast series coming up for a couple different people, and then I saw our friends over at well, I think it Indie
Research
MedTech and
Oh, yeah.
no, the Nick and Holly are putting together one with I saw Sandra Brook and Kim Waller are going to be on it. I just saw the poster today, and both of them we'll definitely put them in the notes because they're both wonderful, as are the folks at Clarimed. They're just wealth of good human factors and early stage stuff. So I am happy about that. I think it's so important, especially with software enabled products. It's like you have to think about it early. And also with these, all the gene therapy, all these really smart people are coming up with cool gene therapies, and they have no concept of like the actual delivery and the
Yeah.
human factors around it. And we're just running into problems of like late stage of like, oh, we can't actually inject this into the person because we can't go from the sterile field to the non-sterile field with an infusion pump and do it correctly, and hosts of problems that people could have thought through. So. Oh, Peggy said the HF webinar just happened earlier this morning, so hopefully there's a recording because I did not go. Thanks, Peggy.
Ditto. Thanks, Peggy.
Oops. I think I did know, and I've just been busy.
Yeah.
There is a recording. Awesome.
Woohoo. Yeah, and Bryant from Research Collective is the other name I was going to drop
Oh
because
yeah,
love them.
yeah.
Um,
And
we're in the wrong industry, you guys. We should have gone into human factors because, man, some of those tests are so expensive to do. I don't
yeah,
know.
can't be replaced by AI either. You actually have to
No.
sit there and play with the toy.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's a
And
lot of
now they're
money.
talking about incorporating a little bit of human factors into the safety evaluation of medical devices because of the changes to 1093 Part 1. Still, there is discussion on how can that be incorporated because uh, as part of one of the new changes is that now you have to kind of look at the safety of your device throughout its device life cycle, as well as consider foreseeable misuses.
Yeah.
And instead of you going out, right, and try to do testing or try to do put together new documentation, there is a likelihood that you could get some of this information from already, like human factors information, but also some clinical information that you could incorporate into the safety evaluation of the medical device. Again, these are things that I guess it's interesting to see, how everything is going to come together at the end, right? Because I think that's one of the goals of the 991 to kind of not have like a standalone document that only looks at the safety, but look at the safety like through the whole medical device development and through its whole life cycle. When you were mentioning human factors, I recall that we had like one webinar maybe a couple of months ago, and there was a discussion on how we can incorporate part of it, like into some of the evaluations that we now have to consider. So it'll be, I'll be interested to know about a little bit. I'm looking for some webinars too, so to
Yeah.
learn more about it.
We'll definitely plug all the names in the notes of our HF people that we know have. I think it's a busy time for the HF people, so I think there's going to be a lot of webinars over the next month and things like that for good education. So
We should
Yes.
get like who's the human factors former FDAer?
Win is out there. There's a few. I I actually
I'm gonna
found.
look in the Slack channel and see who I can
Yeah, let's look in the
try
Slack
to.
channel. I think the ones that have been practicing for a real long time are actually sometimes work so closely with the standards organizations and the FDA on policy that I've found that their experience on the actual like practical, this is how you do things. The one that's definitely out there, I just was stalling Molly's story is out in industry now, and I know she's might be available. So
Molly, we're gonna be calling
yeah,
you. I'm gonna put you in the name drop this week. All right, let's move on. We get. Well, I didn't get to my rant though.
yeah.
Um,
What was the rant? I
the
interrupted.
rant was just about the 510K summary. And Patrick Axtell, if you're listening, can you like fix it? I don't know, guys. Like I've I've had this.
I'm on board.
Thank you. Because when you do a 510K summary now, you get the option to say, like, would you like to use the 510K summary that's been auto-generated from the content above? And you can say yes. Or you want to, do you want to attach your own? No. And then it'll auto-generate it. The downside to this is you can't put any tables or anything in, which whatever, it makes it really hard for your competitors then to like learn anything about your product because people are very selective of what they're going to put in the E-star sections, right? That goes into the 510K summary. And so what ends up happening is it's tough to understand what people have done, which 510K summaries are supposed to be for transparency, like giving us more information. And FDA used to be like, you need to add your substantial equivalence table or you need to do this. But I recently had a reviewer, rightfully so, she said, can you create a 510K summary and send it to me? And I was like, I hate it too. Like the E-star that like auto generates it. And so we're just doing the form 3881, which is the 510K or the indications for use statement page, as well as the 510K summary on our own. And we're gonna send those separately because I was just like, yeah, FDA doesn't necessarily like it either. I'm not gonna say who it is, of course, because I don't want her to get in trouble with Patrick either. But Patrick, if you're listening.
We we clicked no on it as well just to create our own. It's so
Yeah.
much better and you can format it. It's prettier. I do have a question because it came up recently. Are you still allowed to do 510K statements? Because it's
Yeah.
not an option in the E-Star.
Oh, are
I
you serious?
I don't think I've seen it. And maybe you have to attach it as a 510K statement and call it like that way because I haven't seen many recent 510Ks use it. And honestly, with AI and everything being able to mine these systems so quickly for new information, there might be some times where it's like advantageous to just use the statement rather than the summary.
Interesting. I've never
Yeah.
done this 510K statement. I think I had a
I
client
have for
ages ago do one because they were like, we want to know who asks about, for our 510K.
I had
Uh,
a FDA reviewer that wanted to put way too much about what we did in the clinical results in the 510K summary, so we just turned around and gave him a statement.
well,
That's
that's a
it's
middle
been
finger. I like
yeah,
that.
it's been a while since we did it. They got an FOI almost immediately, and I was like,
That's so funny.
did the reviewer do this?
I want to see what you're putting in it.
Yeah.
I will say there were times when I was teaching a class on not eStar, but like putting together documents and doing a 510K, there was a section where I would have the students find a 510K statement, write a letter to that person, and then share the 510K, like the redacted 510K that they would get back. And it was like 30 students in this class, and I would make sure they all had different like letters, different companies, and it was a great way for me to like collect 510Ks. But oftentimes FDA, or not FDA, the companies wouldn't respond. They would just be like, "Pfft, we're not going to send you anything." And so there was one case where I had a client that really needed the five, they really wanted it from this company, and I was like, okay, I'm gonna get FDA involved. Or they like the company sent us like a page, and I was like, no, 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 we need like you're supposed to give us more information. And I emailed, I think it was Nathan Ivy at the time. I don't know if you guys worked with Nathan, but he's the best. And he was like, "Okay, I'll help you, Allison." And he like reached out to the company and was like, "You need to give her the 510K now." And they were like, "Oh." And they shout out to Nathan. That was really appreciated. But like those 510K statements, people don't realize like, what it actually means and like what you're putting yourself on the hook for. So, anyway. Rant over. That was it.
Okay.
Thank you. I will. Let's move on
I'll just,
to. Oh no, you had a rant too.
oh, I'll save my rant because I do. We've only got we've only got like 8 more minutes, and I'll
We
put it
do.
on next
Okay.
week. It's
Okay.
it's it's evergreen rant about FDA not understanding kind of niche populations when you're not trying to take over the industry standard. You're trying to grab the people who aren't served by the industry standard, and the bar doesn't. They don't. It's just always been a problem with the FDA. So but I do want to make sure we talked about some of the because we have Daisy here as a
Yeah.
biocomp expert, I feel like we should at least mention some of the 10993 information that we have at the bottom here.
Let's do
That
it. And
might.
I think, I mean, the two other things that I had with the OTC medical devices, FDA has more information about over-the-counter considerations, and then also the CRH patient caregiver connection. I'll put both those links in the chat. But Daisy, we'd love your hot take on Biocomp. And then maybe your happy thing. Like, give us something happy
Yeah,
that
for
happened to
sure.
you this year.
Yes, and I was gonna say round two from the Viacom side, right?
Uh,
Well, my round would be about like the need to do maybe to use the same approach to all devices without considering the chemical characteristics of some materials. Like chemical characterization, for example, if you do for absorbables, usually you tend to get a lot of extractables, and not necessarily that's gonna be clinically relevant, but still you have to do it because there is like kind of that requirement. And I think there are other ways that maybe we should look into to assess eh, those concerns, and without the need to do testing that is not going to provide that much information. But related to the new things that have been added in the standard, 10931 was updated last year, and it has been recognized by the FDA, but they have not recognized some of the clauses. Specifically, the main one is the clause 6.9. And that clause, I'm going to share a little bit of the background, right, of how, what happened. The language, right, people from the US, people from Europe work together on updating the standard. But when it moved for the last timeline where it was like trying to approve the standard or the draft for its final publication, there was a lot of debate on that clause in specific, because that clause you need to kind of define a probability and severity for risk. But that is difficult, because when you are like talking about biological effect, right, how do you define that for a genotoxicity endpoint? And typically, like toxicologists, we assess like chemicals, right? And we don't have like a yes or no. Like for some tests, there is like a yes and no or pass and fail setup. But typically for chemicals, we evaluate like what is the impact, right? We derive like a POD and then compare that to the level of exposure, and then based on the margin of safety, we say, well, it's safe or not. But for a biological effect, defining that, like giving a number like 1 to 5 is difficult because most of these tests is like they have their own criteria, their own acceptance criteria. And then combining all these tests together and then setting up that for your biological risk assessment hasn't been done before, and there is no clear guidance. And there was like a lot of debate on how we do this, how we incorporate this in our documentation and produce documents that are like consistent. And FDA has not recognized that clause in specific, so there is gonna be some, I guess, deviations, like from the plans that you submitted to European notified bodies to the ones that you're gonna be submitting to the FDA. Also, the new Part 1 now is not like a checkbox. It actually is asking you to look into, first into the materials construction, then determine what is going to be the biological hazard, biological harm, and also the potential risk with it. But you can actually use a mitigation approach. So you don't need necessarily to just check the box and say, okay, if I have this device, I have to do cytotoxicity, sensitization, and all these tests. Instead, you can leverage some of the existing data that you have, right? And if you still find that there are some gaps identified that need additional testing, then you go and do the test. So that's something different now. And the other thing is that for some devices, there was a lot of debate before about, for example, there are devices that you use like 5 seconds or 30 seconds a day. And sometimes the sponsors could say, well, if I use this device for a minute 10 times, if you multiply 1 times 10, that's 10 minutes, right? That's below the 24 hours, so it's still like a limited contact device. But now it's no longer like that, it's calendar day. So you base your duration of use is gonna be based on calendar day. So if even if it's like a second that you're using that device, it still counts as one, right? And you have something that has been used like for 30 days, but 30 seconds every day is going to be a prolonged device. So
maybe it's because we're being cynical today. That just seems like a grift from the test houses. Hey, this is going to be used 1 second a day for 3 days in a row. You're a 3 days of contact now. You have to do $100,000 more worth of testing. Yeah, that's crazy.
It's more aligned with like EU, isn't it? Like with the rest, because FDA for so long has been cumulative.
This change, it's kind of more aligned to the EU, but also if you recall, like 18562, that is a standard that we use to evaluate respiratory devices. Those devices actually were changed because there was a lot of debate around how you categorize those devices, and now you have to consider the calendar day. So everything started with 18562. Now has been, of course, incorporating 1093.1, but as you said, right, some notified bodies were already requesting this type of categorization, even the FDA for some devices. So, but in certain way now there is like a definite way that is no longer like out of the air, right? Or using your criteria. Now you have kind of a guideline of how you will categorize those type of intermittent uses. Of course, you can also consider accumulation, right? If there is you can provide proof that there is a low probability that some of your materials are going to be degrading or accumulating, then definitely you could rationalize some of the testing. And that's also, I guess, some of the advantages of this new standard, right? That you can, instead of just go and do the testing, is now you're trying to scientifically prove, right, why you're doing the testing. Like your plan cannot be like, let's just do everything. Let's actually look at the materials and see whether we need to do the test or not. So that's, I think, as a goal. Let's see how it goes, right? We still are waiting for the feedback. Some of the comments are right from the different notified bodies and also the FDA, how they're gonna implement this new standard. But I think that's one change that is going to impact a lot of devices. And the other one, I guess, is the consideration of life cycle. And that is very relevant because now you have to consider also the shelf life and service life of your device as part of your biocompatibility evaluation. For some devices, that could actually mean more money. Like, for example, there were some cases where you would need actually to triple the amount of testing. So in those specific cases, we're looking into other techniques. So you don't need to do, all the tests all again. Like,
Jason,
you can rationalize it.
I hate to interrupt you, but we are at the end of the hour,
sorry.
and I have an actual I gotta go part of this
Okay.
for my real job and not the podcasting job.
What?
So yeah, I know.
I do too.
But Daisy, thank you so much for joining today. It's
Yeah,
been
no, for
awesome.
sure.
It's great to hear from you. Where can people find you? How do we get a hold of you?
Yes. I'm, as I said, I'm a consultant at Gradient, but you can find me on LinkedIn. I'm trying to be more active. But you can find me like Daisy Diaz-Diesta. I'm gonna write down in the chat, and I also can share my email. Feel free, to reach out. If you have any biocom related questions. I always like to be creative and try. I was gonna go through that topic about other methods that we could use instead of animal testing that could be used for the safety evaluation of medical devices. But I appreciate the invitation, and
We're so
thank
happy
you
to have
both
you
for having
here.
me. No,
Yeah.
for
All right.
sure.
Thanks.
Awesome. Bye, Nilo. And yeah, we'll talk about
Bye.
happy things next week. I'll kick the
Yeah.
can.
Well, yeah, we'll get back
Okay.
to it.
All
Okay.
right.
All
See
right.
you next
Bye.
week. Thanks, Daisy.
See you. Bye bye.
Hold on, rewind. What did they say? Allison and Nilo just winging away. Regs and guidance, we'll try our luck. Just two folks out here trying to keep up.